What an amazing show. We have only 30 minutes and I have a lot to cover, so I'm going to blow through this pretty fast because I'd like to spend as much time as possible at the end doing Q&A. So if I have your permission to do that, I'm going to blow through this quickly because I'd really love to get to Q&A with you guys because that's going to be the most valuable part. I'd love to connect with you guys after this. Here's the email address, fcowell@digitopia.agency. I know I was introduced as being from Elevator, which just recently went through a rebrand. Shoot me an email. Would love to connect with you. You can also reach me on most of the socials at Frank Cowell, but easiest way is email me. Want to give it up to you folks for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here today. Coming to NAMM, I'm sure, is a ton of work. There's a ton of traffic. You guys are all busy. I'm busy. So you guys are the real heroes today, and not me. I'm up here giving you my knowledge, but you guys are the ones, in my opinion, are the real heroes, putting in the time to better yourselves and your businesses. So here's my goal for our short period of time that we have today. I want to talk about the challenges of digital marketing and what's causing a lot of chaos and confusion today. I also want to talk about a systematic digital growth strategy that I developed to simplify some things. And then at the end, I want to give you a tool to help make some of that easier. Sound good? If I can accomplish that in 30 minutes, will that be successful? Awesome. I'm seeing some head nods. I've still got you guys. One of the things I promise not to do today is I promise not to be the guy who's got the secret sauce, who's going to tell you that there's an amazing secret that you don't know that only I have. I think we see too much of that in the digital marketing space today. If you follow anybody and see any of the ads where you've got some guy posting a picture of himself with some fancy car and how he's got the secret, I promise to not be that guy. I promise just to speak to you from real experience about what I've done. And I've redacted the face to protect the semi-innocent. So that being said, today my talk is not about overnight results. Today my talk is about long-term strategy. In fact, I'm going to tell you right up front that what I teach actually takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time to be successful. Everything I teach is about a long-term game because even though we're talking about digital marketing today and online marketing strategy, ultimately what we're trying to do is build a brand for our companies. In today's crowded, noisy world, the only chance you have of competing and winning is if you invest in building a brand. Because we live in a world of commoditization, right? There's no shortage of what you do, and I do. So we have to focus on building a brand. So this is not overnight results kind of stuff. As I mentioned, I have a digital marketing agency of about 20 people. We're in Carlsbad, which is about 45 minutes south of here. If you ever get a chance, you're in the area, please shoot me an email. I'd love to connect with you over coffee. But my career actually began in 1997. This was back when they called the internet. Let me fix my mic here. You guys hear me okay? Okay. This was back when they called the internet the information superhighway. Anybody old enough to remember that? By the way, that makes me old as hell when it comes to internet, right? Like, my employees think I'm like a dinosaur, but I promise there's a ton of experience in that. In fact, back when I started, we went to a store called Fry's Electronics, and we bought a physical book called the Internet Yellow Pages. Now, for those of you who don't know this, I promise you this is not a joke. You would buy a physical book, and you're nodding your head. You know what I'm talking about, right? There was a book about this thick, and this is the one from 1997. And they were the listing of the websites on the internet in a physical book. Now, it sounds crazy today, but this is actually how it was when I got started. In fact, when I got started, a lot of the things that we would do when it came to digital marketing, in fact, we didn't even call it digital marketing back then. We just called it like online or something. A lot of things we did back then, it was kind of easy to get results, right? You would like do something and you would trick Alta Vista or InfoSeek or something like that. This is pre-Google, by the way. You would do some things to trick those search engines, and you would like rank. You would set up a website, and you could drive some e-com business. Like, stuff was easy back then, real easy. And things were going really well for me and for everyone I knew. And results were kind of looking like this. Things were going up and going up. And then all of a sudden, things kind of stopped working. And we tried things, and we tried something else. And no matter what we did, things kind of stopped working. And so I kind of was like running around like, Is it leads I'm looking for? Right? Like I was like desperate. Like I need the leads. I need the business. I need the opportunity. And these tricks aren't working anymore. And so I was a bit confused along with everyone else in my industry. I'd been doing this a while. And so everyone, including myself, began to ask, where's the ROI in this stuff? Where's the ROI? Because costs per visit were going up. Costs per lead were going up. Acquisition was up. Conversion rates were down. And by the way, differentiation was almost non-existent. There was no more differentiation. And I'm sure a lot of you are seeing this today with your competitors and how many people are flooding into your spaces. Happens in my business every day. By the way, in my business, we don't actually have to prop open a physical store or anything like that and invest in inventory. You just have to have a laptop and call yourself a digital marketing agency. Okay? So in my business, I feel it every day. So I know how you guys feel. By the way, if you were to look for a digital marketing agency on Google to try to get some help and make sense of all this, you would get about this many search results, 26,400,000. So it's no wonder that you folks are probably confused when it comes to this stuff. And the only reason I make that assumption is because I'm in the business for over 20 years, and I'm confused. Okay? So if guys like me get confused, you, the potential buyers of digital marketing, you, the potential people who don't live and breathe it, you're trying to run your core business but have to engage in digital marketing, I can only imagine how overwhelming that is. And you're all probably like this little girl here, because this is what I was like. I was like, what? And that's not a great place to be, especially when you're trying to market and grow your business. So I had to ask myself at some point, what's the real problem here? Like, how do I solve this once and for all? So we began some soul searching to look around and figure out, like, why aren't things working anymore? Why aren't things working? So I started talking to other people in my space. I started talking to clients. I started talking to prospective clients. I started talking to anybody and everybody. And what I realized was this right here, which is we're all caught up in the tactics. Every single one of us, we're running around, pardon the correlation here, but it was almost like we were addicts running around looking for the next Facebook trick, the next Instagram trick. What's a good email subject line? You got any subject lines? I need some subject lines, right? How do I get more traffic? And we were all running around looking for the latest tricks. And it dawned on me there's nobody operating under strategy. And so I realized that I had to fix that. But before I could do that, I had to ask myself, what's contributing to all of this? We're all smart. Like, why are people getting so caught up in all of these tactics? Like, we're all smart. Here's one problem. April 2018, chiefmartech.com. This is the number of marketing technologies you could possibly have to choose from to help you do your online marketing. Anybody overwhelmed by this? I am. Let's talk about something else. The number of channels that you have to market through continues to grow. You got to be blogging, and you should be doing email. Are you on Instagram? Are you doing that? Do you have a marketing automation system to be putting? Are you on Google Ads? Are you doing your Google Ads? What about retargeting? Are you doing that too? So the number of channels just continues to grow. And oh, by the way, there's more than 400,000 businesses that start every year in the United States. And sadly, 95% of them will not be here 5 years from now. The net result is this, is that we have too many marketing technologies to manage too many marketing channels with too many competitors. It's total chaos. It's total chaos. And so I decided to take a stand with my company and make sure that my prospective clients, my marketplace knew that we were not going to participate in the chaos any longer. We were going to stop being obsessed with the clicks and the ticks, and we were going to start thinking strategy. We were going to start thinking long-term. We're going to start building brand, as I mentioned at the top of my talk here today. And I realized I just had to simplify it, right? You like Ryan Gosling up there? Come on, who doesn't like Ryan? Come on, be honest. She's honest, you're honest. Okay, I realized I had to simplify things. And so what I did is I created a methodology for simplifying all of it and taking the entire digital strategy into a one-page view. Because I realized if I could put it on one page, not only could I understand it, but the marketplace could understand it. So I'm going to share that with you folks today. And what's going to drive most of it are a set of 5 philosophies. But before I actually show you the one page, there's a set of 5 philosophies that are going to drive that. I created what's called the Digital Utopia Methodology. And it's a digital growth strategy that allows people who engage with your organization to naturally move from one relationship level to the next, from stranger to fan. Remember those two words, relationship level. Relationship level. That's going to be really critical. So I want to share with you, before I get into the actual tool, I want to share with you the 5 philosophies that drive all of my digital marketing. So even if you decide not to use the kind of tool and blueprint that I'm going to show you today, you can apply it to your digital marketing and get way better results. I promise you, if you take these philosophies and you ingrain them into your actions and your activities, you're going to get better results. So let's take a look at those 5 philosophies. Number 1, customer service mindset. What do I mean by that? Well, we all know what customer service is, but what we need to start doing in today's crowded, noisy world is we need to look at our marketing and sales channels as actually customer service departments, because in reality, we're providing customer service to people that don't yet realize that there are customers. This is the mindset that you have to infuse into your sales and marketing. And when you approach it that way, you'll stop asking questions like, how do we close deals? How do we improve conversion? And how do we elevate relationships? This is critical because your customers have more than enough choices. If we can just come to that realization, we have to start coming at it from a place of enrichment. How are we going to give value and elevate relationships? That's mindset number 1. Mindset philosophy number 2, hyper-specificity. The number 1 problem that I see with almost all marketing is most marketing attempts to appeal to the widest audience possible. This is a huge mistake. And the reason this is a huge mistake is because people don't react to general messages. They react to specific messages. In fact, one of my favorite marketers, a guy named Dan Kennedy, he's like a legend in our space. Dan Kennedy says this: great brands repel as much as they attract. But most people, we're so worried about who we're going to turn away, we're not doing the work to magnetically attract the people we want. So hyperspecificity is about getting very specific on a buyer persona, a person that you know you're going to serve really, really well, and you're going to solve some very specific issues for them. So what I want you to do going forward is any campaign you launch, I want you to make sure, if you're doing it or you're hiring someone to do it, I want you to make sure they're hyper-specific. They should be able to tell you who's our one persona this campaign is focused on, and what's the one pain point or the one desire we're addressing with our campaign. If they can't tell you that, it's not strategic. So part of what I'm talking about today, I know some of you will be doing your own digital, but I also want to equip you so if you hire someone, even if it's a college kid, to help you execute your digital, you need to know how to drive them and hold them accountable. Because you folks aren't the ones that should be doing your own digital. You should hire the people that get caught up in that and love doing that. Does that make sense? So I want you guys to know how to drive those people and hold them accountable. They should be able to tell you, where is this campaign focused really specifically? I promise you it'll be the absolute difference in the results of how people respond to your campaigns. I want you to define your buyer personas so much so to where you could write them down and tell a story about them and bring them to life. Here's an example of how we define, or how I define a buyer persona. We even put a picture of the person. We give this person an age. We even define where they went to college and what neighborhood they live in and how much money they make. Now, I know not every one of my buyer personas matches this exactly, but if I want to get intimately, emotionally connected to this buyer persona, I have to bring them to life. Does that make sense? So I want you guys to do this. I want you to document. You guys can do this. You don't need to have any sort of marketing background or anything. I want you guys to write down, who am I for? Who do we really create transformation for? And then once you do that, I want you to understand what their journey is. So this is what's called the buyer's journey, which is to say people go through 3 major stages when they are in the journey to buy something. Now, it's not to suggest people go through this in an exact linear fashion, but we have to look at it in a linear fashion just to make sense of it. Awareness is about becoming aware of any problem or desire they have. Consideration is about discovering potential paths to achieving that desire or solving that problem. And decision is about choosing between different providers who can take them down that path. Does that make sense? And so you can think of it as problems, paths, and providers. And once you do that, what you're going to end up with, you're going to ask yourself this question. You're going to ask yourself, what are the issues? In each of those areas, what are the issues? And I want you to write down as many as you possibly can. I want you to write down as many problems as you can that they experience, as many paths that they could take, all the providers that can take them down those paths, one of those being you and your offering, your competitors, alternative offerings. I want you to write down everything you possibly can, and what you're going to end up with is an inventory. And on that inventory, you're going to be able to ask this question of yourself, which is, which issue do they want to solve more than anything else? Or what desire do they want more than anything else that I know our brand can help them solve in a very unique, differentiated way, to where if they were to compare us to our competitors, we're going to stand out. We do that thing really well. And it's really critical you pick this because, let's face it, out of the 100 different things, you don't do 100 things well, right? You probably do a handful of things really well, and I want you to match up that superpower with this issue that your buyer persona wants to solve or the desire they want. Does that make sense? I want you to put your best foot forward and go hug and love that person through the kind of value you're going to create around a very specific topic. So going back to our buyer persona document, you'll notice here, we even document on this tool here the focus pain point for our campaign, meaning the entire focus of this campaign is going to be on this one pain point. No longer should your marketing, your advertising, your go-to-market address multiple people with multiple issues. That's a formula for failure. Get really, really specific, okay? So that's hyper-specificity. I love this quote by Theodore Roosevelt, which kind of sums it up. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's never been truer today in marketing, this statement here. I'm going fast because I promised you I wanted to save time for Q&A. Let's look at philosophy number 3, slow down to speed up. What do I mean by that? What I mean is we need to stop thinking that the most minor engagement our prospects have with our digital brand means they want to buy something, right? The moment they engage with your brand, they're probably not ready to buy. In fact, most people who are going to visit your website and engage with your content are not ready to buy. So we have to shift, as I mentioned a moment ago, to this mindset of elevating relationships, not just converting leads. And that also means that based on their engagement with your brand, we have to make sure we offer relevant next steps that are logical. You know, let's say somebody downloads something from your website, a resource that you're offering. They're likely not ready to buy. But what do we do as marketers? They download an ebook, so they must want to buy from us. This is really akin to you going to a bar, meeting someone, striking up conversation with someone you're interested in, it's going well, and then at the end of the conversation, instead of asking for coffee, you propose marriage. I mean, that's what we do in marketing and sales every day. You download an ebook, you must want to pull out your wallet, right? Like, you must be ready to buy from me. Instead, we have to start thinking and putting ourselves in their shoes. They're consuming content. What stage of the journey are they in? And let's make sure we offer them something that's natural and logical as a next logical step. So instead, I want you to possibly do something like this. Give them a video based on the thing that they downloaded. You know, if they downloaded some sheet music, send them to a video where someone's playing that sheet music. That's a logical next step. Watch someone they're going to do it. They're going to show you the progression they went through and the stages in which they learned that. Does that make sense? What you're doing is you're just matching the progression of normal human relationships. So don't forget that when we do digital marketing, it's not so binary. They see an ad, they buy. Some people are ready for that. There are some people who see an ad, they're ready to buy. Most of your visitors and people that engage with your brand online, they're not ready to buy. So keep that in mind and design a flow that matches the natural progression. And when you do that, you want to be able to use this kind of language. Now that you've done that, you should do this. So now that you have that sheet music for Metallica's One, come watch the video where we're going to walk you through what that looks like. Now that you've done that, you should do this. Connect it so that way you're reminding them the action you took, the next best thing is this thing right here. And it's a natural progression. Does that make sense? Just Remember the psychology of how you would just interact with someone one-to-one, and take that same psychology and apply it to how you communicate with people online. Philosophy number 4, as you optimize your entire program and you wonder, you get to a point where you're like, I'm just not getting the results I want, I need to optimize this thing, you need to optimize top-down. What do I mean by top-down? In my worldview, the customer sits at the top. So if any of you have ever seen any marketing and sales funnels, the customer falls out the bottom, right? I take the worldview that the customer is at the top and we elevate the relationship. So what I mean by top-down optimization is if we're not getting the kind of results we want, we have to elevate, we have to optimize from the point of customer experience. And why aren't we creating fans? Why aren't we converting more opportunities into customers? My 3 minutes, I think that's what that means. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. And this statement here says it all. In any given process where step 1 is the input, improving the performance of any subsequent step yields increased output without increasing the input. Let me show you what that means. Let's say, for example, this is your life cycle with your customers, and these are your conversion rates. If you're now getting 15 customers a month and your goal is to get 45, you could do a couple of different things. And these are the conversion rates, by the way. The first scenario is you can just increase visitors. Well, if you were to do that, you'd have to triple your visitors to 135,000 to then all the way down the line get to your 45 customers. That makes sense? But instead, if you take top-down optimization, you could actually just improve your opportunity to customer rate to 30%, and you're going to get those same 45 customers with the same input traffic. Does that make sense? So it's always important to optimize from the top down. Last principle, commitment and consistency. This is my favorite one because by far this will make or break your program. So let's say, for example, that you haven't seen a gym in a few years and you're not feeling too good about yourself, and you say, gosh darn it, I'm going to get sexy. I'm going to get sexy. I'm going to get myself in shape. I'm going to look good. And so let's say you go get a gym membership. And let's say in the first month, you show up a few times a week, and you're doing it. You're doing it. Month 2 comes around, and they see you about once a week at the gym. By month 3, they're high-fiving because they know they're making money on you and you're not showing up. So let's say at the end of that 3 months, would it be fair if your assessment of your non-sexiness was that gym sucks? I signed up for a membership, I paid the dues, and I still don't look sexy. That probably wouldn't be a fair assessment, right? Because you didn't put in the work. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you want a sexy brand, if you want sexy marketing, it's going to require commitment and consistency. None of this happens in 3 months, 6 months, or even a year. It's going to take a long-term commitment. So the thing I need you guys to do is I need you to start being trend-focused and not campaign-focused or not in-the-moment focused. Let's be trend-focused. Look at this example here. This is an example of, let's say, performance of driving leads over the course of, let's say, 12 to 18 months. The specifics don't matter for the purposes of this illustration. Let's say during these moments here are when you launch some campaigns and they kind of fall flat, or even they downward trend, right? They go down. These are the points in which you're probably going to yell at whoever's running your marketing. You're probably going to get upset. You're going to say, stop spending money on those ads. Just stop it all. But I would suggest you don't do that. I would suggest you step out and be trend-focused and look at what's happening over time. Because I promise you, if you're in a constant state of stop and start, you're never going to get to the place of ROI. In fact, I'm going to say something here that most people are not upfront and honest about. Marketing in the beginning will never produce a positive ROI. Never. It's never going to produce a positive ROI in the beginning. You're going to run it 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. It won't be positive. Marketing becomes positive once you have commitment and consistency and everything starts to build on itself. Does that make sense? So if you're going to decide to engage at all, only do it if you're in for the long haul. If you're not and you want to take the approach, let's give it 90 days and see what that company can do. Let's give it 90 days and see what these ads do. I promise you, you might as well just like call me up or go to Vegas. Let's just have a good time with that money. Don't do that, right? Be long-term trend focused. If you're going to do it right. And at the end of the day, I want you to build a brand because that's what this is all about. So lastly, I want to share with you the blueprint where you can document all of this kind of content and offers and engagement. We don't have time to go through it here today, but I'm going to let you guys download it, and there's instructions with it. Sound cool? In a longer session, I would actually walk through all of it. But the blueprint is a tool for identifying all of your buyer persona-focused campaigns, content, offers, and engagement activities in one easy-to-understand view. It looks like this. I'm going to give you guys the address to download it. Don't worry about it. And this is a way for you to get hyper-focused on that buyer persona and identify how we're going to elevate the relationship all the way from stranger to fan and give that person so much love and value that the only company they want to do business with is yours. If you notice here in the middle, this is where we're going to identify all the content and offers we're going to give that one buyer persona to help them solve their pain point or achieve their desire. And that matches up with the relationship levels. Again, if we had a longer session, I would go through this and really dive into it. Unfortunately, we don't. OK, so if you want to download it, take a picture. Here you go. You don't have to buy anything from me. This is my gift to you. And by the way, you'll see, experience my own marketing and how this works. Does that make sense? So I'll just let you in on that right now. Total transparency. You'll see how the relationship progression works. OK. Lastly, I want to remind you, let the 5 core philosophies drive your program. Customer service mindset, hyper-specificity, slow down to speed up, top-down optimization, and commitment and consistency. Because, folks, at the end of the day, all you're going to have is your brand. And if you're going to compete in today's crowded, noisy world, that's where you have to go. So let the philosophies drive your marketing activities. And regardless if you use my blueprint or anything else, infuse those in, and I promise you, you have much better results. Get in touch with me. I'd love to connect you. Thanks for having me, guys.
So will you be able to take a few questions?
Absolutely.
So Frank will be over to your right, and let's have a big hand for Frank Cowell.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.